So, is a gun a tool or a toy? Stay tuned. So I recently watched a video by the firearm guy, and he was talking about an article that he read on Target 365, which was actually based on research done by the Pew Foundation on what are the differences between male and female gun ownership. And I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to give you my take on it. In my comments, I summed it up to him that I thought very often females viewed guns as tools and males viewed guns as toys. And let me explain what I mean by that. I no way mean that guys are careless about the use of guns and don't abide by gun rules. By toys, I mean they like playing with them, they like plinking, they like having fun. And the first thing that research brought up was the number one reason that women bought a gun was for protection. So that's my tool theory, right? It's a tool that helps us protect ourselves. And it makes sense because you think of it, many women are smaller or not as strong as men, not all. And a gun can be a great equalizer. And it's one of the tools we use, just like we use our self-awareness. Or some people might be using pepper spray. So it's a tool to be used. Now, it was interesting that the research showed that 26% of men and 26% of females, they both are the same for everyday carry. So I thought that was interesting. One sex does not carry more than the other sex, per this research study. But there are other differences, especially when it went into, how often do you view gun programs on TV, gun videos, go to gun websites, or read gun magazines? Well, it was much higher for men than for women. And that certainly is true in my home. Yes, I occasionally watch gun videos if the title interests me, but I'm not one into knowing all the specs about a certain gun. That isn't something that interests me. Now, my husband, on the other hand, he tapes all of these programs, he watches them religiously, buys these expensive gun magazines and reads them, and I think he memorizes the different specs of different guns, and he looks at it completely different than I do. So, had to agree with the survey. And it was also talking about, how often do you talk to your friends and family, relatives about guns? Well, it was much higher for men than women, because I know when my husband gets together with his friends, and they often, will argue about whether a Glock is better than a 1911, or what caliber is best for self-defense, or the specs of this gun, and blah, 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 blah. Well, that has never, ever happened for me when I get together with my friends. I was amazed at how many of my relatives and friends did own guns or carry that I never knew until I myself carried, because it never, ever came up. Unless for something, I was getting something out of the person, I might see the gun or something. Not something we generally discuss. Now, if I know that someone else is a gun owner, we might talk about gun accessories, because that is something that is more important to us. How do we carry our gun? A lot of the accessories, until most recently, were made for men, and women have a different body shape. We very often have to wear, tighter clothes. It's much harder to conceal carry. So it isn't so much that, yes, we want something in pink or whatever color or with lace. It's mainly we want something that works for us. So we may talk about accessories, holsters, that type of thing. But generally, we are not comparing one gun to another or arguing over which gun is best. But my husband and his friends, that can be a different matter. Now, I also think women often view guns with a bit of fear. And by that I mean fear that bids respect. I know, and every time I pick up a gun, this could hurt me or someone in my family or kill somebody else. It is a weapon. And I feel that same way when I get in a car and drive. Be careful. It is something that could kill myself, my family members, or someone else. I mean, if you ever saw me when my kids got close to, driver's training, nervous wreck, because what could happen with a car? The same thing with a gun. I think men are much more comfortable initially, and with a gun, they live more in the moment, where very often women, especially those of us that are mothers, live in the what ifs of the world. Now, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you'll disagree with that, but that is the way I take on it. So, for me, a gun is a tool. Even when I go to the range. Yes, I enjoy going to the range. I take my 3 guns. I might go through 3 mags per gun, or depending on how many bullets in my revolver, and I hit very close to the bullseye or in that area. I'm happy. I reach my goal. I'm done. Now my husband, on the other hand, he could plink all day. He is not someone fast. He loves to shoot as many bullets as he can and at as many different things as he can. He really has fun. And to me, that is the part of the toy concept. Now I also am in my mind going, okay, how many 45 bullets are we using? How many 9mm? What's the cost of that? I don't think my husband ever thinks of that. But anyway, to me, going to the range, it's still a tool. I'm trying to get as accurate as I can. So, is there a fun component? Yes, somewhat, but not as much as my husband seems to enjoy it. So, those were my thoughts. I think you should read the article and maybe look at the actual Pew Foundation research and tell me what you think. Maybe your experience between the sexes and guns is completely different. What's in your household? How do people feel? The males and the females, are they toys or are they tools? I would love to hear your take on it, and I think it's just kind of an interesting discussion. This is Prepper Potpourri saying please subscribe, share the knowledge. As always, thank you so much for your support, and thumbs up if you like this video.